Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. And we now have the East Final coming up between the Montreal Alouettes and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. We got a lot that we're going to get into in this video. This is going to be we're going to fully look through this. We're going to look at the offense. We're going to look at the defense, the special teams. We're going to go position by position and really,
yes, sir,
try to come to the conclusion of
with a what's the saying? Fine comb,
something like that, like a fine-tooth comb
or some shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. But before we do that, one thing we got to mention is we're on Discord. We have ourselves a Discord server, which a lot of wonderful people have already joined, starting kind of the conversation about sports, whether that's NHL, CFL, other sports in there like MLB, whatever it is. Make sure you guys join down below in the description below, so you guys can kind of join the growing and thriving community. So I'd love to see you guys there.
The one thing that I will mention, starting next season, we will be having a discussion of youth sports.
Yes, and yeah, that was actually another thing we were going to get into. Also as well, in the Discord, Rick is always up to date. He's always got all of the articles getting posted into their depth charts for games. So if you're ever wondering where they are, you don't have to search for them. They're in that Discord below. So make sure you guys join up. But yeah, one thing we were going to discuss kind of before getting into this is that me and Rick were talking. This was kind of Rick's idea. And actually, there's two things I want to mention. But firstly, some of the youth sports is that starting next year through in August, there will be some games that either on Canadian Football Central or over on Hamilton Sports Central will be covered in terms of like a watch along of some youth sports games. Another stuff that we're actually considering for this year, we have not confirmed it, but we've been talking about it, and I think we're more likely to cover some of it on November 15th, is potentially some of the youth sports playoffs. As on the 15th, that's when they have the Mitchell Bowl between the Yates Cup winner and the Hardy Trophy winner, and the UTEC Bowl between the Dunsmore Cup winner and the Lone Bowl winner. And the winner will go to the national championship. And I think we'd like to ideally stream that over on November 22nd.
Just want to give a thing out there. The Yates Cup is the Laurier or Queens. The Dunsmuir Cup is either going to be
Dunsmore,
Laval or Montreal. Hardy Cup will be Saskatchewan or Regina. And then Lonely Bowl will either be St. Francis Xavier or Mary.
Or St. Mary's, yeah. So, yeah. But anyways, that's because you know what? We're Canadian Football Central. We're not CFL Central. Not anymore. That was the old name. And so we're hoping to do some of that. The other announcement, and this was something that me and Rick talked about the other day, really, really late. I want to say like 2 a.m. one of these days, would have been 3 a.m. your time, is that we want to up the ante when it comes to off-season content. Firstly, I think having more videos here and there rather than just one a month would be ideal. So that will just kind of be just kind of more frequent update videos if possible. But one of the main things is with the success that we've had in our live streams over on the No One Hockey podcast, and with the success of the live streams that we've had in the past on this channel, and most recently for the East and West semifinals, you guys really engaged well with both of those. I think the East semifinal one is almost at 1,000 views. You guys are really engaged with that. It's been absolutely fantastic. And we are going to be, as part of the CFL offseason, we're going to kind of pick some random games that we're thinking of live streaming. So this might be some college football games. This might be some NFL. We might tackle something like the Super Bowl or the national championship and do kind of a watch along in the similar ways to that we do some CFL games. We kind of want to grow our American audience and really kind of show them what Canadian football is all about, kind of get them in the door, and hopefully they stay along for the ride. So that's something that we're considering doing if you guys are interested in that. And then also, I'm actually going to be making a full video. And Rick, you want to know how I'm taking this video seriously? I'm writing a script for it, which I don't do for any video I do.
That's what I have
And
AI for.
yeah, no, but I've used it to help out, but I'm mostly writing the script myself. And I'm going to do a full video covering exactly what Canadian football rules are all about. From maybe an American who's familiar with the NFL or college football, or a global fan that just kind of watches the NFL, exactly how Canadian football operates. And it'll be based on the Canadian football rules currently, but it will also include some of the changes that are going to be happening in 2026 and 2027 in that video. So stay tuned for that. That's hopefully going to be coming in the next few weeks, as it's going to be mostly a voiceover video, so there's going to be a lot more edit. It's going to be a very polished video, as opposed to the videos that we do now, Rick, which are very raw, spewing it out, let it out,
Sometimes people need to see the raw
Oh
unedited
yeah,
footage.
and that, honestly, that's one thing that I love about this channel. That's just one of those videos where it needs to be clear, concise, straight to the point, not constantly wandering all the way over here and then wandering all the way over here and then it's hard to follow that. You know what I mean?
If you want to know what I'm talking about, the nice raw unedited footage, go watch the West final, or sorry, the East final. Just go watch that. Watch along in the East final.
Watch the third quarter. Don't watch fucking anything else. That was the That was the only bit of good football. Everything else sucked. Death, taxes, misery in the East semifinal. Anyways, we went a good 6.5 minutes before. We're here for this. We finished all of our shameless plugs and news updates. And so now we're here to talk about the East Final for the 112th Grey Cup. So the winner of this will win the East and will represent the East in the Grey Cup. Either the Alouettes or the Ticats. Now, we have some depth charts that we're going to be looking from here. So just for context, the depth charts we're looking at are the Week 21 depth chart for Hamilton, as this is their most recent, most relevant depth chart to look at. And with the Alouettes, we are looking at their depth chart from the East semifinal when they played Winnipeg. So, starting in the quarterback department, we are looking at Bo Levi Mitchell versus Davis Alexander. And this is really, really difficult to judge. And the reason I say this is from a purely statistics point of view, and from a kind of from a statistics point of view, but then also from the point of view of who's a veteran with experience, who's kind of a legacy. Bo Levi Mitchell is the answer there, but Davis Alexander has been absolutely fantastic. He was last week as well against Winnipeg, and he has that big undefeated streak of games he started in that Winnipeg was not able to stop. The Alouettes formally put an end to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers dynasty, and I know by saying that word that's going to piss people off, but I don't care because I think it to be true. Fair enough. But the Alouettes really were, like, keep in mind, the Alouettes were the first team to knock Winnipeg out of the playoffs before the Grey Cup since 2018. For context, we're in 2025. So that is a very big deal. The Alouettes got it done. They did exactly what they needed to do. Davis Alexander was a big piece of that. He's a young quarterback. The question is, how is he going to fare up against the established veteran that is Bo Levi Mitchell, who, in terms of from his stats perspective, he hasn't lost a step. I mean, there's a chance that this guy is walking out of the CFL award ceremony as MOP. So, what do you think, Rick, about the QB matchup?
Well, just to go a bit back type thing. Without Davis Alexander, Montreal has no hope. We've already seen that. We've already seen that earlier in the season when Davis Alexander was out with the hip injury.
Yeah, no, the Bethel
So I mean,
Thompson was
that's
serviceable for a couple games here and there, but in terms of being the consistent force that Davis Alexander is, he's just nowhere near where he used to be.
so
This is not as much the Grey Cup champion McLeod Bethel Thompson that we're looking at.
if you are comparing quarterback versus quarterback, Alexander has the most completion percentage. Now, keep in mind this is 7 games compared to 18, so there is a big difference. Alexander has a 72.5, whereas Bo has a 68.4. Bo also has 3 times passing yards than what Alexander has. Again,
Keep
there's
in
a
mind
different
Alexander
sample
didn't play all the
size.
games. Yep, no, that's true.
Alexander is 10 touchdowns for 3 interceptions, whereas Bo has 36 and 11. The longest
So that's pretty
pass.
equal if you compare that, because that's about what roughly in the 30% margin, for like 30% of the touchdowns he throws. Like there's 30% of those are also interceptions. Bo Levi Mitchell's around the same thing. If you said like 36-12, something around there.
So it's Bo touchdown to interception ratio. Bo's a 3.27. Alexander's a 3.33.
Okay, so it's very close.
Yeah. Alexander's longest pass is 65 yards. The longest pass for Bo is 87.
Again, keeping in mind
Bo,
that he played more games, so there's more. You know what I mean?
no,
But
I know.
yes.
These are just long,
Yep.
like longest throw.
Yep.
Bo's also had 30 or 28 30 plus yard throws. Alexander's had 12, give or take. Alexander averages 9.3. Bo averages 8.5
8.5 what?
yards. So almost a full first down per
Are you talking
possession,
passing
pretty much.
or rushing?
Yes, passing. No, this is all passing.
Okay.
Interception ratio percentage 1.8% for Bo, 1.4 for Alexander. Bo's had a 1-5 touchdown game. Alexander's had 1-3. Bo's had 11 300-yard games this year. Alexander's had 4. So, I mean, Bo's taken 26 sacks. Alexander's taken 7 because Alexander's only played 7 games. So, you
And
could
also
pretty much say it's
that's
almost a
more of a
toss-up.
that we'll look into that when we're looking at offensive lines. Because again, that's more of an offensive line stat than that is a QB stat. But
True.
But
But
all in
that's
all,
honestly,
I think I would say that these QBs are within the realm of pretty darn equal in terms of what they're bringing to the table. Obviously, you can make a slight argument one way or the other. I think one thing that is a little bit of note is I believe there's more of an injury proneness to Davis Alexander, especially since we've seen him kind of get roughed up a little bit, and we've talked about that
with
elbow
his elbow.
and how that's looking. Even last game, he took a couple hits, and you saw him kind of holding it a little. It didn't seem to affect him in terms of when he was throwing, but it's one of those things where it's a problem. It's not a problem till it is. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
then once it is a problem, then you have to deal with it. You can't avoid it. And so that's just kind of one thing to mention. But I think, at least in my opinion, I'd say they're looking relatively equal. What would you say?
Yeah, so me, you, and then reading the article from Marshall Ferguson, all 3 of us have agreed that it's basically a toss-up.
Yep. Um, so then that brings us to
It
the
could go either
second
way.
point. The second point, because we talked about quarterbacks, that now brings us to talking about running backs. Now, when we talk about running backs, I want to make this clear. I am talking just about the capabilities of the running back and not the offensive line's ability to open holes for that running back. I'm just looking at the running back's ability. So I want to make that clear, as I feel like that's very much
So
relevant for at least one of the running
I
backs we're talking about here.
okay. So I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Are we talking specific one person, or are we talking about like the whole running back as a unit?
We're gonna. I mean, we'll talk about them as a unit, but I mean, primarily we're putting the focus on the starter here, as that's gonna
Okay.
be, you know what I mean, who you're playing, you know.
With the starter with Montreal, it,
Oh,
it could be Sean Thomas Erlington, it could be Travis Thice, or it could even be Scott
it could even be Scott. Who?
the third. Scott the third. Stevie
Yeah.
Scott the or sorry,
Sorry.
Stevie Scott the second. My mistake.
No, it's all good. It was just cracking out a little bit. You're good.
Oh.
Um. So I think it's most likely going to be Stevie Scott the third. That was kind of who they had really played a lot in the East semifinal, and he had had a lot of success. So that's who I would expect.
So if we're comparing Greg Bell to Stevie Scott, again, Stevie Scott only played 10 because they like to switch people around. It will be one person one game, one person the next. Greg Bell has played 15 games. Scott's played 10. So Greg Bell had an average of 5.6 per carry. Stevie Scott had 4.9.
Yeah.
Bell's longest was 30. Stevie Scott's was 19. Bell had 5 touchdowns. Scott had 1. Bell had 28 plus 10-yard rushes. Stevie Scott had 9. Bell had 3 20 plus rushes. Stevie Scott had 0.
Yeah, for
So,
me,
I
I'm not going to
mean,
lie. I think Greg Bell is the clear favorite here. Now, I do think that a potential game changer that could make it seem like Stevie Scott could be the favorite is depending on how much that Alouettes offensive line factors in. But again, if we're just looking at running backs and a running back head to head, I think Hamilton clearly has the advantage there. As even
um,
then, if you look at the units, statistics from the football database, Hamilton and Montreal rank second and third last in the league in rushing yards.
really?
With yep,
Oh yeah, because that would mean Toronto would be last. Okay.
because Toronto's last. That's correct. Toronto had 929 rushing yards over the course of the entire season. Montreal is second last with 1,546. Hamilton just a little bit above them with 1,662.
What
So,
did I guess Ottawa would be above us? Is that who it lists?
yes, it would then be Ottawa.
Okay.
Funny, the entire East and then it's the entire West on top. It just kind of happens to work out that way. But in general, that's kind of my view there. I think we're would you say we're in agreement there that Hamilton's got the clear advantage?
Yes.
So that then brings us to the offensive line. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. As if we're looking at the offensive line, we need to look at the number of sacks given up as one of the metrics that we can use.
Mhm. Okay.
So, firstly, in that regard, Montreal and Hamilton are very close. Within the realm of it being a toss-up, in the sense of technically Hamilton has given up 27 sacks, Montreal's given up 26. It's the difference of 1 sack over the course of 18 games, though. Like, that difference is so negligible that I would consider that a tie. You know what I mean? A draw. Because you also have to keep in mind that they play different teams a different number of times. And so if they played the same schedule against the same teams, then the stats may look a little different. Another thing is if we're looking at The amount of sack yards lost. This is where Hamilton and Montreal again look pretty close, with 174 yards lost when Ticats QB has been sacked. 176 with Montreal. So Montreal actually being slightly worse in this category. Again, this is why I think it kind of balances out. The thing I will say that I have noticed is the offensive line of Montreal last week was an absolute monster. They were a well-oiled machine. And I think they are not getting nearly enough credit. As I'm not going to lie, I would go as far to say that the Alouettes offensive line is the first star of the game in the East semifinal against Winnipeg. I think they were the biggest factor in that game. As if you look at the time that Davis Alexander had to make his plays, there were very few instances where Winnipeg really put the pressure on him. He was very comfortable in that pocket for almost the entire game. The other thing is that if you look at those rushing plays, I'm not trying to say that Stevie Scott III is, I don't think he's a bad running back. He's a decent running back. But I think you could substitute him with almost any other running back in the CFL, and the numbers wouldn't really have changed there, because it was more about the blocks that he got than it was him necessarily kind of playing bully ball and putting it through guys or really juking around others. It was more of the blocks that he was getting. And credit to his O-line on that. And even if you look at the play where he goes on a bit of a running play, Stevie Scott gets stuck, and normally the refs would blow this whistle dead, but they don't because of the concerns they had after that Saskatchewan game in week 21. So they kind of let it play out. The Alouettes offensive line gets behind the pack and just pushes the whole damn thing into the end zone. And so I will say, I need to give a lot of credit to the Alouettes offensive line. What is your opinion on the O-lines, Rick?
I don't know. I'm not much of an O-line person.
See, I'm a big O-line person. You know this, Rick.
I just like with me. I just look at the holes that they do for the running backs and the protection that they give the quarterbacks. That's what I look at.
Nope, that's fair. And that's where I think in the majority of people would probably say that these O-lines are even. I would personally say that Montreal has a slight edge just because of what I've seen.
That's what you're basing it.
Well, because of last week. Well, it's not. Last week is a big part of that. I'll be honest. Because exactly. I'd seen them.
So if you don't take in last week, then it's not Montreal.
If you don't take into account last week, it's even. If I take into account last week, it's Montreal. But there's also the caveat to that where it's also a bit of an unfair comparison because Hamilton didn't play last week. So think of that what you will. But all in all, even if it's Montreal having an advantage, I don't think it is a massive advantage. So that's kind of my opinion on that. I'm assuming you're kind of wanting to move on to the receivers.
Sure. The
receiving core.
Elephant in the room.
This is the elephant in the room because each team is deployed with a Swiss. I think
the other.
Well, it's not even just that. Each team has their absolutely. Each team has got some damn good weapons, and me and Rick think differently. It's not necessarily because we fully agree or fully disagree, but I think you're more convinced of something, and I'm more of I'm not sure. And so, firstly, if we're looking at the Ticats, you got Kenny Lawler, you got Ternowski, you got Keandre Smith, you got Shamar Bridges, and then as backups, you got guys like Tim White, you got Wooden Sr., you got Brendan O'Leary Orange. Is Wolotarski even going to be dressed?
So just if you're looking at the depth chart, so the only reason why Turnowski's listed above White is because White's one of those. Oh, I hate this. Is the dumbest rule that the CFL has. He's one of like those nationalized Americans where they can play so many snaps as a Canadian.
I see what you're saying.
That's the only reason why Turnowski's above him, because Turnowski will play the first snap, and then once Turnowski does that, then White will go in and play in that spot.
I see.
And Wooden Senior is basically just like, I've only seen him get like 1 or 2 plays on offense this year. Other than that, he's just basically special teams.
Yeah. He is just there in case all goes wrong.
If I had to say, if you were lining up like a 5 receiver set, it's Lawler, White, O'Leary, Orange, Bridges, and Keandre Smith.
Yeah.
In no particular order.
And then on the other side of that, we have the Alouettes, which their 5 would be Charleston Rambo, Sneed, Speaker, Austin Mack, and Tyson Philpott. Now, here's the thing. I personally feel more threatened from that entire Alouettes receiving core. However, for context, I am a Bomber fan that have just been eliminated from the playoffs from this receiver core and has lost a Grey Cup to this receiver core. So I view them in a very threatening light. Where the Ticats, I view them as threatening, but the only really one that terrifies me is Kenny Lawler, because I've seen from a Bomber fan exactly what Kenny Lawler is capable of. Because you have to keep in mind that the Ticat Bomber game that I really saw a lot of this year was the 40-3 win by Winnipeg, which was not a fair representation of Hamilton. It was Hamilton's bad game. You know what I mean? It was Winnipeg had its bad game. Everybody had its bad game. This was Hamilton's bad game.
And the one that I saw was the Winnipeg bad game because Claris wasn't playing because Strevler was playing.
Because Strevy time was in. And so the question is, who do you find more dangerous? I personally think the slight edge goes to Montreal. However, in saying that, I think the single most deadly receiver is Kenny Lawler on the Ticats. That is my opinion. But Rick, I would like to hear your opinion.
So my thought is this. The reason why, how do I want to word this? If you want to say one-on-one, you could make a case for a toss-up. However, if you say have 2 defenders from Montreal guarding Lawler, Ticats receivers are that much deadlier.
That is true. And that is a very good point actually to mention, is that a lot of teams in trying to deal with Kenny Lawler have resorted to double coverage. But the problem is that when you put 2 guys covering 1 guy, you don't get an extra guy on the field to help you out. You now are kind of creating a hole somewhere else. And that has been a problem for teams against Hamilton, because it's allowed guys like, I think the guy who probably shined the most when teams were double covering Kenny Lawler was probably Keandre Smith. Would you agree with that? That when double coverage happened on Kenny Lawler, all the receivers got a boost in terms of how well they were doing. I think the biggest boost went to Keandre Smith, though.
I mean, Tim White, when he did that odd time when he did catch the ball.
See, and that's the problem. And that's my thing with Tim White, is that Tim White can be excellent, but I've also seen Tim White have a ball thrown at him. He had his hands up like this. It went through his hands, hit him right in the numbers, and then fall on the ground. I've seen him make some incredible catches and also miss some of the simplest ones.
The other player that I will say that had another, I wouldn't say a big season, but improvement season out of his time that he's been playing in the CFL has been Brendan O'Leary Orange. Like when you throw him the ball, he's
Yeah.
6'4", he'll go up and get it.
Yeah, that
Like
was a
he's
guy.
not
He was a number 5 receiver for Winnipeg, and I was a big fan of
like
Brendan O'Leary Orange.
he's not one of those ones where you'll throw, you know, that 12 passes a game. He's that one receiver where if you throw him like a 40, 50-yard pass, that mother effer is going up and catching it.
And that's the thing I find interesting is that's not how Winnipeg used him. Winnipeg used him very much as a kind of possession receiver, and he did very well in that role. But he's found a bit of a new stride in his game as a deep ball receiver in Hamilton.
But like I
So
said, again, the first year he was with Winnipeg, he only had 233 yards. Then he went down to 111. Then he had 335. Then he had 336. So it's not like he had that big of a season. Like his longest this year is 87 yards.
yeah, no, that's true. Well, again, because he was a number 5 receiver when he was in Winnipeg,
Yeah, that
he's gotten a larger role in Hamilton. So all in all, because we got to move on from receivers, we got to talk about
yes,
other stuff. What would you say? Would you say edge to Hamilton?
yes.
You'd say edge to
You're giving
Hamilton.
the edge to Montreal.
I would say edge to Montreal. Okay. Then we're gonna go
One
to
thing. One thing. Wait. Before we go anywhere, there's one thing we forgot to do that I just noticed.
What did we forget to do?
What do you always ask me for every preview?
What do I always ask you for every preview?
Rick, what's with the injuries this week?
Oh my God, Rick! Tell me who's hurt. Tell me who's crying.
I just noticed that as we're going through there. I'm like, crap, we forgot to do the injuries.
We forgot to touch injuries. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Tell me about the injuries.
So for Montreal, Deontay Evans is battling with an ankle injury. He's limited Tuesday. Did not practice Wednesday. David Dallaire, fullback, knee injury, did not practice all week. Jesse Gibson, offensive line knee, did not practice all week. Caleb Johnson is a linebacker. He's coming back from a knee injury, full all week. Jamar McGloster, offensive line wrist, full all week. Mustafa Johnson, D-line shoulder, limited both days. Travis Thice, running back, ankle, full both days. Scott Hutler, DB, foot, limited and did not practice. Daniel Oladijo, wide receiver, foot, full both days. Pierre Olivier Lestage, offensive line, neck, did not practice both days. Riley McLeod, linebacker, finger, full both days. And Austin Mack is battling a leg injury, did not practice, or nothing's listed as Tuesday. And Wednesday, he was limited.
Ooh.
Over on the Ticat side, Isaiah Bagna, D-line.
I will say, if Austin Mack doesn't play, I give the edge to Hamilton. I want to make that clear. I think he will, but I'm making that clear right now.
Isaiah Bagna, D-line, foot, did not practice both days. He's still half on 6 game, still hasn't fully practiced yet, type thing. I believe, I'm not sure if he broke his foot, but his foot was in a boot for most of the season. Then I'm not sure if you've seen like one of those knee scooters. He was using that for most of the season.
I've seen that, yeah.
So Luke Brubaker, defensive line shoulder, did not practice all week. Patrick Burke, DB, shoulder, full all week. Tajon Garbett, D-line knee, did not practice all week. And Lawrence Wood III, DB, shoulder, full all week. That is the injuries for this game.
So now with that now means that we should cover the special teams side of things. So we're not going to really talk about punters because it's not really much of a factor. Okay. So Maltos Diaz versus Mark Leggio. How do we? How do you feel for that, Rick? I actually want you to start with that.
Okay. So like what I think, or like numbers wise?
Both.
Okay. So Mark Leggio finished the season with 92.9%. Maltos was 89.2. Maltos had the longer kick of the year with 58, whereas Leggio's was 55. Leggio was 34 for 35 under 40 yards. Maltos was 39 for 43. Mark Leggio was 18 for 21, 40 plus. Maltos was 19 for 22. And Mark Leggio was 1 for 2 with 50 plus yards. Maltos was 7 for 8. So on average, Leggio made 33.5 average yards. Maltos is 34.1. Attempt wise, they're about 34 even. And I mean, if you're talking about convert points wise, which to me converts is just a freaking convert.
It's like a gimme, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Leggio was 46 for 48 for 95.8. And
You
Maltos
shouldn't be
was
missing
32
those in
for
the
33.
You shouldn't be missing those in the playoffs, but then again, Rene Paredes found a way to do that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, they honestly look like in my mind. They in our Lord's year 2025. They look pretty similar. And I don't really think I don't know if there's a huge
you know what I
difference.
want for this game? What I want for this game is I do not want it to come down to a fucking kicking game.
Why do you think he wouldn't win that, or do you just think?
No, I'm just saying, like, what was the game that you guys wasn't that the Montreal like last game of the season that you went to, and the game was just like straight out boring because it was just like purely kicking.
It was a lot of kicking. It was.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I want like some like good close action, like the BC Calgary game where it's like down to the wire.
I think you're gonna get that. Don't worry. To be honest, I don't want to dwell too long on kickers. To me, tie.
I just have this as a toss up.
I have it as a toss up as well. However, the next thing is not a toss up. Kickoff return. Or the returner.
Okay, we're going with returners
for Wooden Senior and Tyson Philpott. I'm going to tell you right now, Hamilton has the advantage, and it's not close.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Do you want to know why?
Okay,
so,
sure.
Do you want to know the kickoff return stats? Do you know where Hamilton is? Hamilton on their kickoff returns averages 23.95 yards. They are second in the CFL this year with 2 return touchdowns. Keep in mind, this is kickoff return, these stats. Mm-hmm. Only kickoff return, not just all returns totaled. We'll talk about punt return as well, just to be clear on that. Hamilton's ranked second in the league, with their longest being 105 because they've gotten a touchdown off it. Montreal is dead last at 20.87 on average, and their longest only being a 67-yard kickoff return. They did not get a single kickoff return touchdown. Hamilton got 2 of those. If we go to punt returning, Hamilton stays exactly where they are. They're second. However, they're not second to Saskatchewan. They're now second to Edmonton with 12.62 yards on average. They have 1 punt return touchdown. Montreal is third last, so they're moderately better with a 10.63 average. They do have 1 punt return touchdown. In my opinion, Hamilton takes this clear and easy. As not that Montreal can't do anything, but there's just nothing special about that return game. And I'm not saying it usually will come down to that, but it can occasionally. Occasionally that can be what really, really swings it. And Montreal really has done a whole lot of nothing when it comes to that kick return game in terms of anything special. It's pretty average, and just there's not a lot of spice to it. Hamilton, they've had some. They've had some success there, and so to me, uh, the analytics show that the Ticats are above the Alouettes here, and that it's not close, and that is a definitive advantage that they have. I think that's fair to say. What would you say, Rick? Would you agree with that, or
No,
have you maybe
that's
not?
a fair assessment.
Yeah, I guess my logic is Hamilton's second in the league in both categories. Montreal is last in one of them and third last in the other. So the numbers don't lie, you know? Which then brings us the to the defensive line. As what's your opinion
So
on the D
here's
lines?
here's how, because I mean you can't determine all of the numbers off of the whole defense. I'm just talking about the starters. So I'm talking about Berglund. I'm talking about Ugulak. I'm talking about Dylan Wind. And I was going to say Oakman, but Oakman's not on the team anymore. So I'll just say Robert Jr., since he's the one that was behind Oakman. Because Mustafa Johnson's still up in the air.
Yeah.
So based off of those two, you could say, okay, Berglund and Hauser both cancel each other out. The top sack leader for the defense line for Montreal versus the top sack leader versus on Hamilton. Then you have Philip Osee, who's only played 12 games, first year player, 8 sacks.
You're talking for a side.
So he is the other defensive end on, if you're looking this way, he's on the right-hand side.
He's on the right-hand side, yeah.
Then you also have Casey Sales, who had 4.
Casey Sales is great. Big fan of Casey Sales.
Then you also, depending on who you put in, if you have Mario Kendricks, he had 5. Fox didn't have as many. So then if you take in Ugulak, he had 3. And then other than that, I mean, there's really no one else. Mustafa Johnson only had 2. He's only played 7 games. So outside of Berglund, there's really maybe Ugulak. That's it. Maybe those 2. Those are the only ones on the defensive line that I would have.
I mean, they
with.
put a lot of pressure on Winnipeg, but I don't think that was as much of a they were doing something special as it was more of Winnipeg's O-line has had a lot of problems recently. I think Hamilton has a slight advantage here. What would you say?
That's what I'm going with.
Alrighty, then let's check out the linebackers then.
I mean,
Hamilton,
do we really need to go into depth, or should we just say what our thoughts are for this one?
I mean, we'll name the names. As you got Fisher, Hill, and Stubblefield over for the Ticats. Yep. Then you got Beverette, Sankey, and Murray. Montreal has the advantage here.
You're not pulling my arm on that one.
You know what? I think, Rick, there are some points I would say, like, you know what? As much as I said I thought the Alouettes had the advantage in the receiver department, you can make a fair argument for how it goes the other way. And fair enough.
Yeah.
This is an argument you don't argue. This is one you concede. You know what I mean? And fair enough.
However, don't forget, yes, you have Beverette and Sankey, both 100 tackles for Sankey, 90 for Beverette, and then Najee Murray has 77. Don't take out that Devin Varasek, first or second overall draft pick, had 70 tackles, 2 quarterback sacks, 1 interception, and a defensive touchdown, or 2 defensive touchdowns.
That's true. No, and that's fair. And
And
to be honest, I want to make it clear. I'm not saying that the linebacker core for the Ticats is bad. It's not. It's just that
no, I know.
Montreal's is just truly exceptional in
I'm
its
just
own way.
pointing out these players that people may not have heard of.
Now, one
Then you have
region.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, oh, I thought we were going to move on.
Oh, I just wanted to mention Hill. That was it. And then there's Hill that's only played 8 games where he's had
Yeah.
30 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 2 interceptions. So I mean, I know Montreal still has the edge. You can't sleep on them though.
Nope, fair enough. Which then brings us to our last one here. Where with the Alouettes, they have Ruffin, the
I don't
secondary.
care what anyone
Ruffin,
says on this last one.
Sutton. They don't have Lorenzo Burns listed on here, but he should be. Then there's Kabianento, Ciante Evans, but again, there's the question of if he's going to be there. Kennedy, and then of course Marc-Antoine Dequoy. And now this is where it gets interesting though, because the Ticats have notoriously done very well here with Jamal Peters, with Talbert, with Panabaker, with Jonathan Moxey, and of course Katsantonis at free safety.
So it's actually
And Deshaun Amos. I forgot to mention Deshaun Amos.
I was gonna say Baker isn't in the starters. It's Amos, but yes.
Yeah, I have. It's Deshaun Amos.
Again, you got to remember that Canadian American dumb rule in the depth chart.
Distinction.
But go on.
Yeah, I think this is where, I mean, when it came to your defense, was it not your secondary that was your bread and butter?
So, Ticats have 27 interceptions to Montreal's 18. Do you know what the big knockdown difference is?
Can I actually give you that? Like besides just the 27 to 18, Montreal was fourth last, so they were fifth in the league in interceptions. Hamilton was first, so that's an important thing to mention.
Also, Hamilton has a 72 to 58 regular season advantage in passes knocked down.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because the only area where they're actually really, really close is that the completion percentage against the Alouettes, when the Alouettes were playing defense, they let up 68.5% completions, whereas Hamilton let up slightly more on 68.9. So 68.5 versus 68.9. So Montreal does marginally better there, but it's less than 0.5%. So it's pretty negligible compared to something like interceptions and knockdowns.
On your end, does it give you...
Just give me what?
The turnover... what the heck is it? Like you know how they have like turnovers in the game, and then it's like, well, what are they in? Oh, what am I? Oh, here we go. So turnover ratio. Hamilton is a +10. Montreal's a +8.
I will say that also factors in offense, though. You have to keep in mind that's not a
I know. I'm
defensive
just saying.
stat. Yeah.
Turnovers forced. Hamilton has 44. Montreal has 39.
Yeah.
Hamilton's only given up 11 interceptions. Again, it's more of an offense stat. Whereas Montreal's only given up, 15.
Yep.
So, I mean, the only way that, unless you can keep it in front of the secondary, if you try to throw those long balls or those deep balls behind secondary, my man, it would not surprise me if you see a couple of interceptions that Alexander throws this game.
Yeah, so I'd say that Hamilton has the edge there, which then has brought us through everything, and means
Not
that
not quite,
oh
because I always have my little tidbits. So the three main X factors that could impact the East Final, we have the Davis Alexander Pulse, who establishes the run game, Montreal or
who
Hamilton,
establishes a run game? Yeah,
and Hamilton's special teams weapons. You have the three stories of to watch in the East Final. You have the Kid versus Vet Part 2. We have a sequel.
yeah,
You have who will win the turnover battle, and always balance is the name of the game. So do you balance the run game with Hamilton and their pass game? Do you have more passes than rush? And the last thing that I want to bring up is six stats that may loom large in the division finals. 12 wins for Davis Alexander as a starter. You have 17 forced fumbles for Montreal versus 27 interceptions for Hamilton. 376.4 passing yards per game for Hamilton versus 256.9 passing yards allowed per game in Montreal. And yeah, those are the
yeah.
only things I
Now,
wanted to make.
regarding the Old Dutch Pick'ems, I see you
Yes.
posted them in the Discord.
Yeah, I
Again,
forgot to
make sure you
post the
guys join.
French ones.
You didn't post can you post the French ones in right now?
Yep, give me 1 second
Actually, can you post the
here.
English and French ones both in there, and then just delete your message of the English ones from earlier, just so they're together?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, this is
Hold on.
why. Actually, while he's doing this, I'm gonna plug it again. This is why you guys should join the Discord. Again, all that stuff, all that information, all available on the Discord. Join, link in the description below, to help us build the community that we're building there.
Copy
So,
and paste that.
okay,
So
now, okay, so I think you know what I'm laughing about when I see this. Now, firstly, where there's the English side of things, where it's
which
a
are five
three.
people?
It's five people. It's a 3-2 split. Three in favor of Montreal, two in favor of Hamilton. Montreal, and then the French side is showing the Alouette bias, as all four of them took the Alouettes. And so, all in all, I'm not gonna lie. I think you can kind of dismiss the like. I mean this in no offense, but I've seen them pick Montreal in some games where they had no business picking Montreal, and so I kind
The
of dismiss it a little bit. Whereas I think
the the interesting thing is everyone's sleeping on Hamilton.
yeah, Hamilton is definitely getting slept on a bit. Although to be fair, it's simply because Montreal really looks like that Montreal team that won the Grey Cup in terms of where they got hot at just the right time. But also, at the same time, one thing we need to remember is that this is the Alouettes team that, as red hot as they were, gave up 21 points in about 5 minutes last game in the third quarter. So as much as this is a very strong team, if they fall apart, they can give up a lot in a very short period of time. And so that is where this has to be considered. My heart truly is hoping the Ticats get this done. And this is not necessarily me saying what I think is going to happen or who I'm picking. I'm saying I want a Hamilton versus BC Grey Cup. That is my, like, if I look at the four teams that are left, what Grey Cup do I want? I want BC Hamilton because, Rick, that means I would like to get Jake on for the Grey Cup preview, if that's what that is, just to watch you dogs go at it. Just for the fun content that would be. Original CFL Central co-host against new Canadian Football Central co-host.
The funny thing that you bring that up is the fact that if that were to happen, because I just want to double check the numbers. That's one. So if that did happen, don't forget, Hamilton has beaten BC by 4.
Yeah,
BC won in overtime by 3. So this
that
would be
is
a
true.
part 3 of the sequel.
That is true. And so, as much as there's a lot of me that is really in my mind thinking that Montreal really has a good chance and very well might win this game, I'm gonna go with the Ticats. You know what? They're kind of the underdogs in this game. They're the
No,
underdogs. They're not the overdogs. They might be the hot dogs. We'll have to see how this goes. And
let's all be honest here. The only reason why Carter's picking the Ticats is because Montreal eliminated his Blue Bombers last week.
and that's also a part of it. Shut up, Rick. Don't expose me like that. We don't need any of that.
But as well,
There's definitely some salt in there. I'll be real.
I am not going against my Ticats, so I am picking the Ticats.
Yep.
Also, I want to mention those people that are going down to the game on Saturday. There's lots of events. Wear black because it's our blackout game. They're giving rally towels out. You're going to be able to see the alum pregame. We also have ACDC performing Thundershock as Carter.
Yeah, so Thundershock will be, which is an ACDC tribute band, will be performing. And then as well
we
as
also
the
have
Trews.
The Trews are performing at halftime. So you get to see two concerts and a Ticat game for the price of one.
Yeah, so Hamilton's putting on a show for the East Final. So let us know what you think in the comment section down below of this matchup. Do you think it's going to be Montreal? Do you think it's going to be Hamilton? What do you agree with us? Where do you disagree with us? We would like to know. And again, just one last time before we go, make sure you guys join the Discord. Link in the description below. Again, really trying to build a sports community on there. That includes the CFL. A lot of sports communities don't talk CFL. This one does. Make sure you guys join it in the comment section down below. In the description down below, sorry. And so, yeah. Hope you guys really all enjoyed this video. We're almost an hour long just talking about one game. Peace, love, and positivity, all you wonderful people at home. And we'll see you guys next time when we're talking about the West Final.